Hello everybody and welcome to another Doctor Who review. This time I'm reviewing a Christmas episode starring the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. Yes, it's the Christmas Invasion, the very first Christmas special for Doctor Who in what was 40 years. Yes, you heard that right, 40 years. There was a Christmas episode on the 25th of December 1965 called The Feast of Stephen, part of the Daleks Master Plan story arc. And it's missing from the archives. This is the first Christmas episode we can actually see. But yes, this is the first Christmas special of the new series. Because of that, and being a new series episode, there isn't going to be a synopsis of the story from the Television Companion, because Television Companion was created and published 7 years before this came out. So there has been no update as of yet of that book. However, let's get on with it. Let's get into the review. And I'm quoting from somebody else there. I'm not quite sure where. I've heard that somewhere before, but never mind. Okay, the story itself. Basic story. Basically, the Doctor lands on Earth at the Power Estate. Is taken to his bed because he's still in the throes of regenerating, and post-regeneration amnesia and trauma. Mickey and Rose try and get back to Christmas a little bit, and then they get attacked by robotic Santas in the market. These robotic Santas are classed as pilot fish, so they're there to help with the scavengers and the big nasty sharks coming, which happen to be the Sycorax, who have intercepted a British probe that was going to Mars. On that British probe has a vial of A positive human blood, and that's been used to basically take 1/3 of the population up onto the roof, including the royal family, and as it turns out, me as well, if it was really true, because I'm A positive, to the top of the roof, about to jump. Turns out, obviously, that's not going to be the case later on. Eventually, Rose and the crew go up to the spaceship. In the meantime, Unit with the Tower of London has a visitor in Harriet Jones, who is keeping an eye on everything here. She's now Prime Minister after her debut in Aliens of London World War III. And she is now... we know who she is, effectively, and she's now Prime Minister, and she's we've obviously got the first mention here of Torchwood as well in the series, and they're ready to help back up in case the Doctor doesn't arrive, and there isn't any Code 9 at that point. The Doctor hasn't been found as such, but Harriet's already up in the spaceship by the time Rose, Mickey join them with the Doctor in the TARDIS. And yeah, it's an interesting story to see the fact that obviously Rose is without the Doctor for half of it, mostly, and feels powerless, doesn't know what to do. It just shows how much she's relied on the Doctor all this time, and you think she's independent, but really the Doctor's the main catalyst. And the interesting thing about the translation, which I'll get back to that in a minute, I think is really cool as well. But let's get through the casting. Let's go into the man himself, Mr. David Tennant, his very first full story as the Doctor. And you see the manic elements of the 10th Doctor from the off. He mentions he's got a gob, he's very chatty, he's very wordy, he talks a lot. He is a man of action. The sword moves are pretty basic from a reenactor's point of view, but it's still dramatic enough to make a difference. Couple of swipes there and everything else, but sword fighting is basically that. It just looks good, I suppose. And I'm going to get chastised for that on here, but never mind. But yeah, no, it's a good little performance. It's a bit scatty, but you can see from the off why he was such a popular Doctor. He's so eccentric, so scatty, but he's also so modern and out there, and yeah, you just know when you get an actor play the role of Doctor whether they're going to fit in or not. And Matt Smith is one, David Tennant's one, Peter Capaldi took a minute to warm up. Tom Baker and John Pertwee certainly have their characters off the bat at the time, and Tennant's one of them as well. He certainly has the character off the bat from the start, and you know what to expect, and you see all the sides of the Doctor that you see later in the series, his darker sides, his lighter sides. his fun sides, and the fact that he depends and relies on Rose. And that theme of the Doctor needing a companion to help him along with the regeneration continues in later series. But Tennant does a good turn here. He does a good job, and you can see why he became very quickly one of the most well-known and popular Doctors of all time. He certainly lays a good groundwork here. Billie Piper and Rose Tyler is a very emotional performance from Billie this time round. She's still not immensely annoying. She gets a bit more annoying as the series goes on. I've done the Idiot's Lantern already, and you can't. I'm not fully enamoured with that story, and it's partly because of Rose as well. I mean, Billie Piper does a good job. She acts whatever she has quite well, and I love the emotional parts of it. The fact that she feels lost without the Doctor, and is really heartbroken, and she really does care for him in that respect. But Billie puts it with plum, works quite well. I love the situation, the domestic situation there with Jackie and Mickey being there to help out, and they obviously understand the circumstances of the Doctor now, and there to support Rose, even though they may not fully agree with it. Then we have Camille Kaduri playing Jackie Tyler. She's virtually comic relief here. She is obviously the one that is there to help, is her mum, is Rose's mum, but she's effectively the comic relief in this part. She's not, Mickey's a bit more, which I'll get to in a minute, he's a bit more of a help this time round, but she's more the comic relief. She's more the sideline. She does start to care for the Doctor, understands the Doctor, and promises, and likes the Doctor. Obviously there is references to Jackie saying that she's returned and she's back and she's safe after the events of the previous episode, Parting the Ways. That's a nice little link between, to nice continuity there. And then we've got Noel Clarke playing Mickey himself. Now, Noel Clarke is a good actor. It's the first time Mickey's actually feeling more like an actual character, and the fact that they're utilising his geeky tendencies with his hacking into military installations again, which is always good. It's always fun. And it's nice to see that there is a slight growth of Mickey there. He's not just a bumbling idiot like he was in the very first episode, and he's certainly improved more as time's gone on, and it's good to see it still develops there. Nice support mechanism. You can see he's obviously a bit uncertain and unhappy about the fact that Rose is still going about with the Doctor, but he accepts it now. He accepts and he supports it more. It's obvious that's the case. Then we have the return of Penelope Winton as Harriet Jones. She's a good actress. You can see that, and then she gives the emotion there of the character, and you can see she's making these tough decisions. But she's actually I don't know if she's actually fully certain of them. She's making decisions because she has to, but it's actually nice here to see thinking, and I'm going to get chastised for this, but there is an allegory of Theresa May there to an extent, except a strong version of course. Obviously, at this point, we only have one female prime minister, so obviously they're trying to elevate her as slightly Thatcherite, but certainly there's more of a Theresa May look to her now. It's a strange one. It's an interesting characterization. It's kind of coloured by more modern times a little bit now, but certainly for the time, strong character. Shows a bit of emotion. Certainly, Penelope Wilton plays the role of a plumber, and I do enjoy the character very well. It's a well-written piece, really, in that respect. Then we have a couple of the guest cast. We've got Daniel Llewellyn, played by Daniel Evans, who is the scientific head of the satellite that's been caught up by the Sycorax. And then he does a decent turn. He's just basically a scientist who cares for the project and is there to take responsibility when things go a bit awry, when the Sycorax capture the satellite, which is interesting. Then we have Adam Garcia, who plays Alex, who is Harriet Jones's assistant, and quite a quiet, solemn role. Not much there really, but yeah, it was fun enough at this time, I suppose. Then we've got the Sycorax leader, played by Sean Gilder. Interesting species, the Sycorax. They're scavenger species with a very heavy war ethic to them. They're kind of like space Vikings in some respects, because the swords and the dress and everything looks very, it's got Viking influences to it. And you can see that obviously Vikings were more raiders and colonizers for resources. They weren't scavengers as such. So, but they're basically space scavenger Vikings, and it's quite cool, and I like that part of it. His character is quite well done, and I love the fact that obviously you've got the universal translator from the TARDIS, uses the Doctor as the conduit to help everybody understand. It's been established for years that the TARDIS has a gift that held to the companions, but it's down to the Doctor to give that gift to the companions. So it's interesting to see that play out, the fact that Rose can't understand what the Sycorax leader is speaking, and the technology to translate it comes through with a portable translator, which obviously then figures out what they're saying and helps translate most of it in English for the audience, which works quite well, and I quite like that. Then we have Chu Umambala plays Major Blake. I can't say that name. I'm really sorry out there, sir, if you're listening to this. He plays Major Blake, who is the unit officer, effectively, and the first militarized example of unit that we see in here. And it's interesting seeing unit back. I mean, it's not really played on that much. I mean, they're obviously playing on the fact they're playing on a bit of nodding from us, the viewer, to know about unit at this point. So if you're a new series, you probably wouldn't know much about unit. You do know a little bit more about unit in later series, but this is the first time that we see unit, and it's the first time established in the Tower of London as their headquarters, which obviously carries through into the Kate Stewart era of unit as well, which is quite cool, and I quite like that element to it. Yeah, there's a few good bits in here. There's a couple of bits I do like of this. The Christmas tree moment, where the Christmas tree's in the living room that comes to start trying to kill them by spinning round. That's quite a cool little effect. Makes kids scared of Christmas trees, maybe. As I say, this is the first mention of Torchwood, first established of unit in the new series on the tower roof, into the Tower of London, rather. And of course, A positive blood, something I would have been part of. I'm A positive blood. My father would be standing on the roof right now. So, direction. James Hawes directs this story, and it's very clean. You've got the nice action orientated bit. I like the bits of the TARDIS coming into view, and the practical and the digital effects that are mixed in there with the TARDIS coming out of the vortex and crashing into the buildings around the power state before it lands not far away, with the bins being knocked out of the way. That's quite a nice little effect. I love the Sycorax ship. I think it works quite well. It still stands up, really, nearly 15 years later. The set design's quite well. The lighting's not overlit. James Hawes is good with the urban stuff. He always has that kind of flair with it, and I do enjoy the direction here. I think it works quite well, and it's not overstated. The characters aren't overacting. It's enjoyable enough fest. It's quite light-hearted, really, the story overall, and there's not really any heavy stuff that you need to look into here for that. And then we've got, of course, Russell T Davies writing it. His usual mix of emotion and drama and fantasy. And you can tell this is somebody, as you do with all the other stories he writes in the series, you can tell this is somebody who knows his stuff. He knows Doctor Who inside out. He knows how to put the emotional drama in there, and he knows how to put the elements in that keep the fans and people interested. And you can see he's getting into his stride here with this, and it's a really good story for that respect. In regards to the writing, it's solid. It's not wow. There is a couple of wow moments there, obviously with the Christmas trees and the Santa robots, but it's not a story that you sit back and go, wow, that was a great story. It's enjoyable enough. You have some smiles. It does have some good memories, this story. For me, and I remember watching it on Christmas Day, really excited, all that time ago, 15 years ago nearly, 14 years ago nearly, sorry. And then of course we've got Murray Gold with his musical score. Still not bombastic at this point, but it's the first time the BBC Wales Orchestra is involved in the music. Before all the stuff beforehand was synthesized. This is the first time you see it come together with a proper orchestration. You can see that there's a lot more brass, and his flute leitmotif. He likes a lot of flute for the high points. Is coming in a bit more here. It's still not overpowering, and one of the best things of this is the first time we hear the middle eight in the new series and the end titles. And of course you've got the Coming Up, which obviously covered the first 6 or 7 episodes of the second series, including an appearance from Sarah Jane Smith, which is quite interesting. And of course we know about that school reunion later in that series. So it's really fun to see, really fun to know about, and I'm really pleased that we get this story, because it's an enjoyable romp. It's certainly one you can sit down and just take your brain out and watch at Christmas. It's not the strongest story in the world. It's not one that makes you shout out and go, wow, it's a brilliant story. But it is certainly one you can take out, watch, and just enjoy on a regular basis. And on that basis, I'm going to give it a rating of 3.5 TARDISes out of 5. So let's see how that works out along with all the rest of the reviews I've done so far. The Christmas Invasion sits in with the Aztecs, the Leisure Hive, Vengeance and Varos, the War Machines, Amy's Choice, the Trial of a Time Lord, and the Five Doctors. The bottom two are still the Idiot's Lantern and Battlefield. At the top, with 4.5 targets out of 5, is still the Happiness Patrol, Inferno, the Day of the Doctor, the Caves of Androzani, the Tomb of the Cybermen, and Dalek. Thanks so much guys for watching as always. Merry Christmas when it comes. If you like this video, please don't forget to like it and share it with the hashtag teamstructor. All the other reviews are up there in the top right hand corner there in the big playlist, nearly 30 of them now. If you want to leave a comment about your review, what do you think about it? What do you think about the Christmas Invasion? Do you like it? Do you not? Is Tennant your favourite Doctor? Is Rose your favourite companion? All that lovely stuff. Leave a comment down below. If you like this channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notifications bell so you know when a new video comes out. There is a video every Sunday at 4 PM GMT, UTC +0. We'll be quite busy in New Year, so it might be a little bit more than that. So expect to hit the notifications bell so you know when a video comes out. Until then, thanks for watching and see you later.